Airports test people in ways they don't expect. You think you're ready. The ticket's booked, the bags are packed, the itinerary is clear, until you realize your flight has a connection. That's when travel turns into a different kind of game. Suddenly, you're sprinting through terminals you've never seen, counting minutes, and hoping your luggage travels faster than you do. But the truth is, the real danger isn't bad luck or delayed flights. It's the hidden mistakes travelers make. Simple, repeatable, and surprisingly costly. They're the reason people miss flights in Istanbul, lose bags in Dubai, or spend the night stranded in airports they can't even pronounce. Every one of those disasters starts the same way, with an overlooked detail. So today, we're breaking down the 8 biggest mistakes travelers make with connecting flights, and how to avoid them before your next trip turns from smooth to stranded. Because once you see how airports really work behind the scenes, you'll never look at transit the same way again. Mistake 1. Avoiding connecting flights altogether. For some reason, many travelers still see connecting flights as something to fear. A hassle, a risk, a complication to avoid at all costs. But that mindset often costs more than the layover itself. Sometimes, a connection isn't just necessary, it's smarter. Many routes simply don't have nonstop service. Try flying from Barcelona to Antalya, for example. There's no direct flight. The only way to get there is with a connection, and in many cases, that connection can actually save you money. Compare prices on any booking site and you'll see it. Connecting flights, especially through major hubs like Istanbul or Doha, often come out cheaper than direct ones. But the real advantage isn't just the price. Breaking a 12-hour flight into 2 6-hour legs can make the journey far more comfortable. You stretch, walk, breathe, reset. You get real food instead of reheated airplane trays, maybe a good coffee, and most importantly, you arrive with your sanity intact. And here's the twist most travelers miss. Connecting flights can actually make your trip richer. Those few hours between flights aren't wasted time. They're a chance to see something new. A different airport, a skyline you've never seen, even a taste of a city you weren't planning to visit. Some of the best travel memories begin in those in-between hours. So stop treating connections like the enemy. Used right, they're not obstacles, they're opportunities. Learn how to master them, and your next trip won't just be cheaper, it'll be better. Mistake 2. Chasing the cheapest connection. Everyone loves a bargain, but when it comes to connecting flights, the cheapest deal can quietly become the most expensive mistake of your trip. You see a ticket that's half the price of the rest. Great, right? But behind that low fare are long layovers, multiple stops, and connection times so tight they're almost impossible. The rule is simple. The more connections you have, the more ways your plan can fall apart. Each extra stop is another chance for delay, another security check, another airport where your bag can vanish. Miss one flight, and the rest of your ticket usually disappears too. Airlines call it no-show cancellation. You miss one leg, and they automatically cancel the rest. No refund, no apology. And the real killer? Time. That cheap flight might look like a 6-hour trip, until it turns into 36 hours of waiting, wandering, and paying for overpriced food and Wi-Fi just to survive. Suddenly, your bargain has eaten more money and energy than a direct ticket ever would have. Airlines and aggregators know this psychology. They make those too-good-to-be-true routes look irresistible, and people fall for them every day. But the best deal isn't the lowest fare. It's the one that actually gets you there on time, rested, and sane. Because when you're stranded at 2 a.m. in a half-empty terminal somewhere you can't pronounce, saving $50 won't mean much. Mistake 3. Ignoring how many airlines are on your ticket. This is the mistake that traps even experienced travelers, because on paper, it all looks fine. You find a good route, click book, and never notice that your trip is split between 2 or 3 different airlines. And that small detail can decide whether your journey runs smoothly or falls apart. If every flight is under one airline and one booking code, you're protected. If a delay makes you miss your connection, it's the airline's problem, not yours. They'll rebook you, feed you, even cover a hotel if needed. Your luggage goes straight to your final destination. You don't touch it again until you land. But mix airlines that don't share an alliance, and you're suddenly on your own. If your first flight runs late and the second leaves without you, neither company will help. The first says, "We got you here." The second says, "You missed it." And you're left stranded, holding 2 useless tickets and a lot of regret. Picture it. You fly from Moscow to Istanbul with one airline, then Istanbul to Madrid with another. The first flight's delayed. You sprint through the terminal, reach the gate, and watch your plane taxi away. No refund, no replacement. And your luggage? Still somewhere in transit, probably heading to Madrid without you. It gets worse when visas enter the mix. If your bags don't transfer automatically, you'll have to collect them yourself, which means exiting customs, entering the country, and rechecking them. But without a visa, you can't even leave the transit zone. Your trip ends right there. So before you hit confirm, check every detail. Do all segments share one booking code? Are they part of the same alliance like Star Alliance or SkyTeam? If not, you're not booking a trip. You're stitching together a gamble. Because when flights connect, your protection should too. Mistake 4. Forgetting about airport changes. This mistake hides in plain sight, and it's one of the most painful. You see connection in Istanbul or layover in London on your booking and assume it all happens inside one airport. But many major cities have 2, sometimes 3 airports, and your itinerary might quietly send you to one and expect you to leave from another. Now imagine this. You land at one airport, grab your bags, check your ticket, and realize your next flight departs from a completely different airport across the city. You rush outside, it's rush hour, and your connection turns into an 80-kilometer race through traffic. Every red light feels like a countdown. By the time you reach the next terminal, your plane is gone. It happens more often than you think. In Istanbul, for example, flights may arrive at Istanbul Airport, but depart from Sabiha Gökçen, 2 completely separate locations. The same problem happens in London, Paris, Moscow, and even New York. Yet booking sites rarely warn you. They'll happily sell you the ticket because, technically, it works on paper. But once you click buy, the chaos becomes your problem. And it's not just inconvenient, it can be illegal. To transfer between airports, you need to exit customs, enter the country, and check in again. That requires a visa or entry permission. Without it, you can't even leave the airport. The airline will simply deny you boarding. That's the cruel trick of air travel. The system will let you buy a connection you can't legally complete. So always double check your airport codes before booking. Heathrow and Gatwick aren't the same. Istanbul Airport and Sabiha Gökçen aren't the same. A connection that crosses a city isn't a layover. It's a gamble with your time, your money, and your trip. Mistake 5. Ignoring visa requirements during layovers. This one has ended more trips than weather delays or lost luggage ever could. So many travelers assume that if they're only passing through a country, they don't need a visa. But in several countries, that assumption can stop your journey before it even begins. Here's the reality. Some nations, like the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, require a transit visa even if you never leave the airport. No visa, no boarding. You could have the perfect ticket, the right luggage, and the best intentions, and the airline will still refuse to let you fly. They're not being harsh, they're following the law. Picture this. You're flying from Istanbul to Morocco with a connection in Rome. If both flights are on the same airline, no problem. Your baggage transfers automatically, and you stay in the international zone. But if they're on separate tickets or operated by different airlines, you'll need to collect your luggage yourself. That means crossing the border, entering the country, and checking in again, something you can't legally do without a visa. And if you don't have it, your luggage keeps spinning on the carousel while you stand helpless on the wrong side of immigration. The sad truth is that airlines will still sell you those tickets, even though you legally can't use them. It's your job to know the transit rules for every country on your route. Before you book, check the visa requirements, especially if you're mixing airlines or using separate tickets. Because when it comes to visas, just passing through can still get you stopped cold. Mistake 6. Not checking where your baggage actually goes. This one seems harmless until it isn't. Many travelers assume their checked bags automatically follow them to the final destination, no matter how many connections they have. But that's not always true, and learning it the hard way can cost you time, money, and sanity. Most of the time, if you're flying on one airline under a single booking, your bag is checked through to the end. But there are a few major exceptions, and each can turn your trip into a headache. First, if you're flying on different airlines that aren't in the same alliance, you'll probably have to pick up your luggage at the connecting airport and check it in again. Second, if your trip includes both international and domestic legs, say Delhi to Moscow to St. Petersburg, you'll need to collect your bag at the first entry point into the country to clear customs, then recheck it for the domestic flight. And third, if your layover is very long, the airline might simply unload your bag. Most carriers have limits on how long they'll hold luggage, sometimes 8 hours, 12, or 24 at most. So if you plan a long stopover or overnight stay, don't assume your bag will wait for you. It could end up spinning on the carousel while you're out exploring. How do you avoid that mess? Always ask at check-in where your bag will end up. The baggage tag attached to your suitcase shows the final airport code. Check it carefully. And if you actually want your bag during a long layover, ask the agent to tag it only to the connecting city. Most airlines will do it if you ask politely. Because in air travel, your luggage sometimes has a different itinerary than you. And the last place you want to find that out is halfway across the world. Mistake 7. Miscalculating connection time. This is the mistake that divides travelers into two extremes: those who panic and book 6-hour layovers just in case, and those who get overconfident and think 30 minutes is plenty. Both are wrong, and both end up miserable. Here's the truth. If your flights are on one ticket, the airline has already done the math. They know how long it takes to move between gates, terminals, and security zones in that airport. So if they sell you a ticket with a 50-minute layover in Istanbul or 45 minutes in Belgrade, that means they're confident you can make it. And if you don't, they're responsible. But if you piece flights together on your own, it's a different story. Now every delay becomes your problem. If one plane lands late and you miss the next, the airline won't rebook or refund you. That's why for self-made connections, you should always plan at least 3 hours between flights. More if you need to collect luggage or clear customs. Big airports like Dubai, Frankfurt, or Istanbul can easily swallow an hour just getting from one terminal to another. Add passport control, security checks, or a bus transfer, and your comfortable layover turns into a sprint with no chance of recovery. Here's the golden rule. If the airline built your connection, trust it. If you built it yourself, add time. A lot of it. It's better to sit calmly at your gate with a coffee than to watch your plane take off while you're still in line at passport control. Because when you gamble with time in an airport, the house almost always wins. Mistake 8. Ignoring stopovers. Your hidden advantage. Most travelers see long layovers as punishment, endless waiting, uncomfortable seats, and overpriced sandwiches. But smart travelers know better. A long layover, known as a stopover, can actually be one of the biggest perks in air travel. A stopover is any layover lasting more than 24 hours, and it can completely change your travel experience. Instead of sitting in a terminal for half a day, you can turn that time into a mini vacation, and often, it doesn't cost a cent more. Airlines love filling their hub routes, so they frequently offer cheaper fares for itineraries that include long stopovers. In other words, you can see 2 cities for the price of 1. Even better, some airlines reward you for it. Turkish Airlines offers a free hotel night in Istanbul for eligible passengers. Qatar Airways, Emirates, and Singapore Airlines have similar programs, sometimes even adding complimentary city tours or airport transfers. So while everyone else is half asleep in a boarding area, you could be eating breakfast by the Bosphorus or taking photos of the Dubai skyline. Stopovers also give your body a break. Splitting a 15-hour haul into 2 shorter flights lets you rest, reset, and arrive fresh instead of jet-lagged and drained. It's not just smarter, it's healthier. So don't rush through travel like it's a chore. The smartest flyers know how to turn layovers into opportunities, because sometimes the best part of your trip isn't where you're going. It's what you discover along the way. Connecting flights aren't the enemy. Misunderstanding them is. Most travel disasters don't happen by chance. They happen because travelers rush, assume, or ignore the fine print. The truth is, airports follow a predictable logic, and once you understand it, the chaos disappears. Avoid these 8 mistakes and suddenly you're in control. You know which tickets protect you, how to time your layovers, where your luggage goes, and what paperwork you actually need. You stop fearing delays and start using connections to your advantage, saving money, exploring new cities, and traveling with confidence instead of panic. Flying smart isn't about luck or fancy upgrades. It's about awareness, knowing the system so it works for you, not against you. So before your next flight, take a moment to double-check the details. Your booking code, your airport, your visa, your timing. The effort takes minutes, but it can save your entire trip. Because travel isn't just about getting from one point to another. It's about everything that happens in between. Thanks for watching. If this helped you fly smarter, hit like, share it with someone who always books the wrong connection, and subscribe for more insider airport secrets the airlines hope you never find out.